Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how it is, always got to be prepared. Big meeting coming up, new project, or maybe you're just one of those awesome lifelong learners.
Always love those.
Me too. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into all this material on knowledge transfer and communication techniques.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
So we're basically going to turn all this information into actionable insights, like how to actually use what you learn, not just, have it sitting there in your brain.
Right, because we often get so caught up in just gathering information, reading all those articles, going to those webinars.
Totally. But what do we do with it all? That's the key, right?
Absolutely. It's that transformation from raw data to usable knowledge that makes all the difference.
Our sources make a really great point about the difference between just knowing something and actually being able to use it.
Yeah.
Like knowing that the sun rises in the east, okay, that's information.
Right. It's a fact.
But if you use that knowledge to plan, like an epic sunrise photo shoot.
That's applying it.
Exactly. Now you're cooking with gas. Now that's knowledge in action.
It's about understanding the so what. What does this information mean for you? How can you use it to make your life better, your work better?
I had this funny experience trying to teach a friend how to code once. I knew all the lingo, the syntax, all that stuff.
Right. The technical side.
But when it came to actually explaining it,
The teaching part?
total brain freeze. I had the knowledge, but getting it out there, making it make sense to someone else,
That's a whole other skill set.
major struggle bus.
You hit the nail on the head with that struggle bus.
Yeah.
That's a classic example of how tough it can be to transfer what we call tacit knowledge.
Tacit knowledge.
Yeah. Think about things like riding a bike.
Okay. Yeah.
You can read every book on cycling, but until you actually get on that bike and feel the balance.
Wipe out a few times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No book can truly teach you that. It's knowledge gained through experience, intuition, those unspoken rules.
Okay, so how do we get better at this? At tapping into and sharing this tacit knowledge?
Our sources highlight some things like mentorship and apprenticeships. Being immersed in the environment where that knowledge thrives.
Kind of like absorbing it through osmosis.
Yeah, exactly. And don't underestimate the power of reflection. Taking time to analyze what worked, what didn't, why.
Makes sense. So we've got information, we've got knowledge, but the real goal is turning all of this into insights.
The aha moments.
Yes, those light bulb moments where everything clicks, you see things in a whole new way. Our sources break down the ingredients for gaining those insights, and there are three big ones.
The first is understanding the context. It's not just knowing the facts, but understanding the why and how, the bigger picture.
Connecting the dots, seeing the patterns that might not be obvious at first.
Exactly. That's the second ingredient, connections and patterns. Think about a detective solving a mystery.
Ooh, I love a good mystery.
They're piecing together clues, making those connections that lead to the solution. It's the same with gaining insights.
So it's like a mental puzzle. We're always looking for those connections, those patterns that help us see the bigger picture. What's the third ingredient?
The third one is feedback and iteration. It's about recognizing that knowledge isn't static.
It's constantly evolving, right?
Exactly. It's a process. Think about building something. You start with an idea, you test it, you get feedback, you make changes.
Refine, refine, refine.
Exactly that. You're constantly improving, building upon what you've learned. And that feedback loop is essential.
So it's not about being afraid to experiment, to make mistakes. It's about seeing those as opportunities to learn and grow.
Love that perspective.
This is giving me a whole new way of thinking about learning.
That's what we're hoping for.
It's not just about absorbing information, it's about engaging with it, testing it out, really making it your own.
And to help with that, our sources actually lay out a super practical 4-step framework for turning information into actionable insights.
Okay, I am all ears. What's step one?
It all starts with input. That's where you gather information, reading, listening, talking to experts, anything that expands your knowledge on a particular topic.
So casting a wide net, getting as much info as possible.
Yes, but with a purpose. The key here is to always ask yourself, what is this FOR? What's your goal? What do you want to be able to do with this information?
Okay, so we've got all this info swirling around. What's next?
Step 2 is processing.
Processing.
This is where you organize it all, start to make sense of it, think mind maps, summaries, or even just talking it through with someone to see if you really understand.
I'm a big mind map fan. It's like all those connections start to appear.
Exactly. You're creating those links, building those patterns.
Okay, so we've taken in the info, we've processed it. What then?
Then it's time for action. Step 3 is application.
Application.
Put it into practice, solve a problem, teach someone else, create something, anything to solidify your understanding. Make it real.
This is where the rubber meets the road. No more just thinking about it, you got to do something with it.
Exactly. And the final step,
Hit me with it.
reflection. Take a step back. Look at what happened when you applied that knowledge. What worked, what didn't.
The good old feedback loop.
You got it. It helps you refine, get better, keep learning.
This framework is so simple, but wow, so powerful. Like a roadmap to turn those piles of information into something you can actually use.
And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Empowering you to take action, make a difference.
I'm already seeing how I can use this in like every area of my life. This is awesome.
I'm glad to hear it. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the specific skills you need to really master this whole process. Get ready to level up your communication game.
Can't wait. See you then. All right, so we've talked about turning information into those aha moments, right? Those actionable insights.
Exactly.
And our sources really highlight these skills that are like essential for making that happen, whether it's at work, in our personal lives, wherever.
They're like the tools in your toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have the best materials, but without the right tools.
You're not building anything.
Exactly. So let's break down these skills. First up, and this might seem obvious, but active listening.
Ah, yes. Active listening. It's more than just hearing, isn't it?
So much more. Our sources really emphasize that. It's about engaging all your senses.
Right.
Not just the words, but like the tone, body language, the whole shebang.
It's being present.
Yeah?
Truly present in the conversation.
Yeah.
Not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Oh, I am so guilty of that sometimes. Like my brain's already formulating my response and I miss half of what they're saying.
We've all been there. But that's where the active part comes in. Asking clarifying questions, summarizing to make sure you're on the same page.
Showing them you're really getting it.
Exactly. It builds trust, deepens connection, and honestly, you just get better information that way.
And you know what? I bet it's also crucial for getting at that tacit knowledge we were talking about earlier, that stuff that's hard to put into words.
Absolutely. When you create that safe, attentive space, people feel comfortable sharing those deeper insights, those things they might not even realize they know.
So active listening is all about receiving information right, but then there's the flip side, sharing what we know, effective communication.
Ah, the art of getting your point across.
But not just that, making sure it actually resonates.
It needs to land,
Yeah.
stick with people.
Inspire action even. Our sources talk about using analogies, stories, making information come alive.
Like a good storyteller, yeah.
Yeah.
They draw you in, you can't help but listen.
And I guess effective communication is a two-way street.
Always. Knowing your audience, adapting your message, making sure you're both on the same page.
Like, I'm trying to explain something complex. I've got to find a way to translate it, make it relatable.
I like that, translate.
Yeah.
And speaking of translating, we can't forget critical thinking.
Oh, yes, that's huge, especially in this day and age, right? So much information coming at us from all directions.
Information overload.
We need that filter.
Critical thinking helps you sift through it all, figure out what's reliable, what's not.
Spotting bias, those hidden agendas.
Exactly. Questioning assumptions, evaluating sources. It's like a mental self-defense system.
Essential, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And once you've gathered information, processed it, applied that critical thinking, then it's time for
Experimentation.
You got it. You've got to put it into practice.
See what works, what doesn't.
Exactly. Turn that knowledge into action.
Our sources use the analogy of a scientist testing a hypothesis, right?
Perfect analogy.
You've got an idea, you design a test, you see what happens.
And the beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be some formal experiment. It can be as simple as trying a new productivity technique or a different way of communicating with your team.
I love that. It's that whole idea of continuous learning, always trying, always improving.
And that leads us to what might be the most important skill of all,
Lay it on me.
a lifelong learning mindset.
Ooh, that's good.
It's about being curious, being open to new challenges.
Never stop learning.
Exactly. Seeing mistakes as opportunities.
Because that's how we grow, right?
You got it. And it's so essential, especially in a world that's constantly changing.
So we've got these amazing skills, but how do we actually put them all together? How does this look in real life?
Great question. Our sources actually give some really practical examples. Let's start with problem solving at work.
Okay, because we've all been there, right? Stuck on a problem, feeling like we're banging our heads against the wall. How do these skills help?
Imagine you're leading a project and you hit a major roadblock. First, you need to gather information.
Active listening time.
Talk to your team. Really listen to their perspectives. Get all the data you can. Then you move into processing,
Okay, making sense of it all.
using your critical thinking skills to analyze that information, challenge assumptions. Maybe the timeline needs to shift, or tasks need to be delegated differently.
Or maybe you need a completely new approach.
Right. And then it's time to test those solutions.
Experiment.
Exactly. Try a pilot program, gather feedback, make adjustments, and all throughout, that lifelong learning mindset keeps you flexible, adaptable.
You're not afraid to pivot, to change course if needed.
And that's key, because these skills aren't just for the workplace, they're for life.
Yeah.
Think about learning a new skill, like learning a new language.
Ooh, that's a good one. I've been trying to learn Spanish forever, but I always get so frustrated and give up. How can these skills help me finally conquer Spanish?
Well, first, I love that you keep trying. That persistence is key.
Thanks, but I need help.
Think about learning a language like a journey, not a destination.
Okay, I like that.
A journey.
You're going to hit bumps in the road, you're going to make mistakes, that's part of it.
But it's about how you approach those bumps, right?
Exactly. That lifelong learning mindset helps you see those mistakes as opportunities to learn, not failures.
Shifting that perspective.
And those other skills, they come into play too. Active listening helps you pick up on nuances, pronunciation, all that.
And effective communication helps me actually, speak and be understood.
Exactly. Critical thinking helps you analyze your own learning process. Are your study methods working? Do I need to try something new?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Maybe try a language exchange partner or a new app.
Ooh, a language exchange partner. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is making me feel more hopeful about Spanish. But what about when it's our turn to be the teacher, to share what we know with others?
Those communication skills are absolutely key. Whether you're mentoring someone, giving a presentation, anything, you got to be able to break down complex ideas into bite-sized pieces.
Make it digestible, make it stick.
Exactly. Think about analogies, stories, visuals.
Making it engaging.
And remember, it's a two-way street. Active listening, checking in, making sure your audience is with you.
It's like you're leading them on a tour. You want them to enjoy the journey, not get lost along the way.
Love that. And, our sources have this awesome exercise to really help you put all this into practice.
Okay, hit me with it.
Think of a topic you're passionate about or something you've been wanting to learn more about.
Anything.
Anything. A new hobby, a historical event, even something from this deep dive that's really resonating with you.
So I pick my topic.
And then you take it through that 4-step framework. Input, process, apply, reflect.
Like a mini deep dive of my own.
Exactly. That's how you really make knowledge your own. You go beyond just reading about it. You engage with it. You experiment. You draw your own conclusions.
I am so ready for this. I've got a few ideas already brewing.
That's fantastic. And remember, as you go through this process, keep those essential skills in mind. Active listening, effective communication, critical thinking, experimentation, and that lifelong learning mindset.
Got it. Tools for life. This is awesome.
I'm glad you're finding it useful. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to get even more into the nitty-gritty. We're talking advanced techniques, the power of silence, storytelling, even persuasive communication. Get ready for your mind to be blown.
Bring it on. I can't wait. Welcome back. We've explored so much already, from the basics of information and knowledge to those essential skills for putting what we learn into action.
And we've got more.
But this next part, this is where things get really interesting. We're diving into a technique that honestly might seem a little counterintuitive at first.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about the power of silence.
Silence. Interesting.
Correct. Our sources really emphasize how powerful silence can be, not just in our personal interactions, but in presentations, negotiations, even brainstorming.
I can see that.
I gotta admit, I'm someone who hates dead air. I always feel the need to fill it. So how does silence become this secret weapon?
Well, think about it. When someone pauses before they speak, it draws you in, creates anticipation.
Okay, yeah.
So silence can command attention, or in a tough negotiation, a well-timed silence can be powerful.
Like, I'm not backing down.
Exactly. But our sources also talk about silence as a way to deepen communication, not just control it.
Oh, interesting.
Silence can create space for reflection, for both the speaker and the listener.
Gives you time to process, formulate a more thoughtful response.
Exactly. It can also signal empathy, understanding.
Right.
You're giving the other person the space to fully express themselves.
I'm here with you. I'm listening. Powerful stuff.
And remember our discussions about tacit knowledge.
That hard to articulate wisdom.
Right. Silence can help bring that to the surface. It creates space for people to tap into their intuition, those deeper levels of understanding.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Right.
But how do we actually use silence effectively? Any practical tips?
Our sources suggest practicing mindful pausing. Before you respond, take a breath. Allow a few seconds of silence.
Almost like hitting the pause button.
Exactly. It gives you a chance to really consider what was said,
Yeah,
choose your words carefully, and avoid those knee-jerk reactions.
makes sense. So much wisdom in that pause.
Then think about presentations, meetings.
Yeah.
A well-placed pause can really make a point hit home.
Create a dramatic effect.
Right. But there's also what they call listening silence. Quieting your own internal chatter, those thoughts about what you're going to say next, and really focusing on what the other person is communicating.
So it's like a mindfulness practice. Being present.
Exactly that. And when you truly listen from that place of stillness, you pick up on so much more. Those nuances, the unspoken messages.
Wow, almost like you're tuning in to a different frequency.
And here's one that might sound strange. Using silence to spark creativity.
Wait, what?
Think about it. We try to force creativity, right?
Right.
Loud music, distractions. But silence, that allows for a different kind of thinking.
Clearing the mental clutter.
Exactly. It creates space for those aha moments, those unexpected connections.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We've gone from communication tips to like deep philosophical concepts.
And that's the beauty of this, right? Exploring these different areas, we see how silence has been used in so many ways throughout history.
To inspire, to strategize, to connect. Wow.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the key takeaway is this. Turning information into action is a journey.
It's a process for sure.
It's about honing those essential skills, experimenting, finding what works for you, and most importantly, never losing that curiosity, that drive to learn and grow.
So well said. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep those conversations flowing. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. We'll be back soon with more deep dives, more insights, and more ways to turn what you know into what you do. Until then, happy learning.